Hello everybody, my name is Glenn Monroe and I'm the owner of Brain Diesel. And in this video, I am inspired by the battle that our friends down south are going through as they fight with Hurricane Sandy or Superstorm Sandy, whatever we're calling this now. So the storm is kind of like a perfect storm where three different storms happen and they combine and it makes this uber storm. Well, you may have in an Excel document, let's say, when you're looking at your numbers, that you want to verify a couple criteria. So let's look at this list here. I'm going down here and I want to know where my actual is higher than my budget. But as I do this, I come across the insurance line where, yes, the actual is higher than the budget, but it's $5 higher than the budget. I probably don't care about that so much. Not when I've got lines that are $650 higher and so on. So this higher than budget isn't enough of a trigger for this to matter to me. Maybe I want to go with a percent higher than budget. Well, 8250 versus 7500, that's 10% higher, whereas this is a much higher percent gap in it. So while the gap is a lot higher on this one here, it's like 60% or something like that. It's probably higher than that. The gap is much bigger, but we don't care about that as much as we care about this one here, where the gap's only 10%. So I want to know if it's higher than budget. But the budget dollar had to matter. I don't care about the $150 expenses as much as I do with the $7,000 expenses or the $5,000 expenses. So the budget amount matters to me. The fact that the actual was higher than that matters to me. And then the gap in between matters to me as well. Whereas this is $1,500, this is higher, but it's not enough higher to matter. So those three things have to occur for it to really matter for me to build an action plan to fix it, because nobody's going to put an action plan together for $5. So that's my perfect storm. Those are the three elements that have to happen. So let's do a formula that does that for us. Now, to do any comparison like this, we do these naturally in our head, but you need to compare if it's greater than, less than, or equal to. And because right now we're looking to know if the actual is greater than the budget. Well, to be able to write this, you need to know how to write greater than, less than, or equal to. Now, we covered this in grade 4 math, and we're used to seeing these symbols. We've seen them before. Equals is very easy. Now we get the other ones here, which are the greater than or less than. Now, some people struggle with which one's which, because when we learned it in grade school, it was you had a 4 and a 3, and you drew the one like this or like this, and the alligator mouth went towards the bigger number, whichever one happened to be. But that's to make the statements true. Not every statement will be true. And so now what we have to do is we have to know how to read these. So this one here looks like a falling down L. So the letter L falling down, that's what it looks like. Whereas the other one here, if I put a circle around it, or half circle, you'll see it looks like a letter G, as in greater than. So hopefully that visual tip helps you. Now that's 3 of our possible comparisons. There are 3 more other possibilities here. I could have greater than or equal to, which I would write like this. So with that in mind, less than or equal to is pretty easy to do. The final possibility is not equal to. And not equal to, well, on pen and paper, it's equals with a line through it, but we can't type that. So we do it this way. Less than or greater than. My age is less than or greater than 12 years old. So I'm not 12 years old. That's how this works. And then what happens is in the formula, you could do 4 is greater than 3, and the result is true. Or if I do 4 is less than 3, the answer is false, and 4 equals 3, the answer is false as well. But Excel will kick out a true or false answer based on you writing a statement like this. So now what we want to do is we want to put this into a formula that checks every line. So here we go. And the way we're going to do this is using the AND function. Equals AND, open bracket. And it tells me here logical 1, logical 2, and so on. Well, the logical is 4 is greater than 3. That's a logical test. So I want to know, is my actual greater than my budget? So that's the first thing I want to check. Comma. And when I put the comma, it jumps to logical 2. The second thing I want to check here is my budget over $1,000? So is my budget number greater than $1,000? Comma. And the third thing I want to know is the gap between them over $500? So to do that, I would take the actual minus the budget, which gets me a number. And is that number greater than $500? And those are the 3 things I really want to check here. Is it higher? Does the amount matter? And does the gap matter? And if those 3 things occur, then this would be true, true, true. And as a result, when you have trues in an AND function, the result is true, which is enter. So everything has to occur for that to be true. If I drag this down one row, this one's false. Why is it false? It's higher, yes, the amount matters, but the gap is only $250, so it doesn't matter to me. And I'll drag it down all the way here, and you'll see I get a bunch of falses and trues. So here, while yes, it's over and the amount matters, the gap doesn't, so that's false. Here, it is over, but the gap doesn't matter and the amount didn't matter, so it was false. This one hits all three. It's higher than the number matters and it's true. So this lets you get down to focusing on the true lines. And then if you know how to do conditional formatting, you could highlight it that way. Or if you understand how to do an if statement, you could wrap an if statement around this to take that a little further. But that's a starting point for you of how to use an and then you can just focus on the true lines to determine which lines matter to you, so you can focus on what matters instead of trying to find the problems, work on solving the problems. If you wanted to find out if any one of those things happened, that if anything happened there, that was the trigger, then change the word and to or. And if you change it to or, I'll go down to this one here. Actually, I'll use the second line. This one here, if I change this to or, it's now true. Why? Because the actual is higher than the budget. Or because the budget mattered. Those two are both true. This one's false. But even if a single true occurs, that becomes true. This one here, I'll change it to an or. And again, it's higher, yes. Even though the amount's lower, even though the gap is lower, it is higher. So if any one thing occurs, or makes it true. Let me undo those. But the AND function is a great way for finding your perfect storm. So hopefully that helps you. Maybe you can find some ways to use this when you're analyzing your lists. And thanks for watching. Our prayers to our friends down south. Stay pumped. We'll see you next time.